If you can't do it, then shut your mouth. If you keep making noise, don't blame me for taking action and ending you." The man in golden armor snorted coldly. Wang Lin gave the man in golden armor a cold glance. This person's cultivation was very high, and Wang Lin had already sensed it when he intercepted the solar spear. The man's cultivation was at the peak of the mid-stage of the Ascendant Realm, just a step away from the late stage of Ascendant Realm. Although the man's cultivation was only one realm higher than Deputy Marshal Xian's, the gap between the two realms was significant to Wang Lin. But that was secondary. The most important thing was that the man practiced an extremely domineering technique. When Wang Lin intercepted the solar spear earlier, he immediately noticed the strange power. To him, the golden-armored man's supernatural abilities were related to Yang fire. This power, when combined with his cultivation, allowed him to stand at the peak of the same realm. Even a late-stage Ascendant Realm practitioner would not be an easy match for him. Unless facing someone with a title of Ascendant Realm, with this supernatural power, defeating him would be nearly impossible. Of course, fighting this man during the day would be a huge disadvantage. At noon, defeat would be inevitable. However, if it was midnight, in a place filled with Yin energy, the fight would be a bit easier. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the golden-armored man and focused on the demon drum. He had already struck 8 times. The rebound from the 8th strike had broken through nearly 3,000 layers of the Seal of Life. Even if Mo Lehigh can't join the battle, having struck 8 times and possibly striking one more, I will have the qualification to enter the top 10. I shouldn't continue further. If I get injured, it won't be worth it. However, the sound of the demon drum has stirred my mind. This sensation is only similar to when I sat by the river listening to the zither. Could it be that striking this drum is in tune with the Tao mind? Striking the drum isn't aligned with the Tao mind, but its reverberation contains the essence of reversal. The force I strike with is aligned with the Tao, while the rebound force represents reversal. This balance of forward and backward contains the changes of the Tao. A strange light flickered in Wang Lin's eyes as he stared at the demon drum. At this moment, he no longer hesitated. Taking a deep breath, he threw a punch. Boom! The 9th drumbeat rang out. The rebounding force surged like a flood, fiercely crashing into Wang Lin's right hand and rushing into his body. This rebounding force was the force of reversal, spreading through Wang Lin's entire body. His Seal of Life rapidly dissipated. 100, 800, 1,000, 2,200, 3,004. Until over 3,600 layers of the Seal of Life vanished. The rebounding force, though greatly weakened, continued to strike. Over 3,700 layers of the Seal of Life collapsed at that moment. This was the first time Wang Lin had experienced such a thing. With the final seal collapsing, the rebound force surged into Wang Lin's body, like an unstoppable flood flowing through his meridians. Wang Lin's body seemed to be in a storm, his hair wildly fluttering, and his clothes blown backward. His body involuntarily stepped back, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, until he had retreated 19 steps. With a step of his right leg, he stopped. His face flushed strangely, and after a moment, he returned to normal. Seeing this, the man in golden armor breathed a sigh of relief. A cold smile appeared on his face as he inwardly thought, "This kid will never strike 15 times. He's already reached his limit after the 9th strike. I'm sure the 10th strike will be his limit." The surroundings were silent. No one had the mood to discuss anything. With the 9th drumbeat, this achievement had already surpassed the first demon general, Mo Fei. Everyone who witnessed this understood that from this moment on, the name Wang Lin would shine brightly within the heavenly demon province. After all, the demon emperor did not care about one's origins when it came to capable individuals. Wasn't the former celestial marshal also a cultivator? No one spoke. Their gaze was fixed on Wang Lin, unblinking. Mo Lehigh stared at Wang Lin. In just a few short months, Wang Lin's transformation had been enormous. 9 strikes. I can't do it. Mo Lehigh sighed deeply. Wang Lin stood at the center of the myriad Zhang Plaza, surrounded by countless eyes. He paid no attention to them. His expression shifted between light and dark, his brows furrowed. The rebound force from the demon drum had melted through over 3,700 layers of the Seal of Life, but only a small amount entered his body. With the operation of his immortal power, he quickly returned to normal. But the moment that rebound force entered his body, Wang Lin immediately felt a strange aura. Within this aura was a sense of unyielding determination, an overwhelming force that defied the heavens. The rebound from the demon drum was driven by this unyielding and arrogant aura. Anyone who dared to provoke it would suffer a maddened counterattack, even if the heavens themselves fell. This force would push the heavens up and break through. This was the will contained within the aura. Reversal. Wang Lin murmured to himself. I was wrong before. Using the seal of life to resist this contrary will, in reality, unconsciously resisted the opposition within my own heart. Wang Lin's eyes revealed an odd glint. In that moment, he seemed to transcend, and he silently stared at the demon energy. At that very moment, the heavenly marshal among the demon commanders on the stands slightly opened his eyes again, turning his gaze toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained silent for a long time, then took a step forward. One step, then another. After 19 steps, he reached the demon drum. Wang Lin did not strike immediately, but instead gently stroked the dark, rough drum surface, which was full of bumps and hollows. A streak of unyielding consciousness slowly followed Wang Lin's palm and entered his body. He slowly closed his eyes. At this moment, he seemed to merge with the war drum, and his aura slowly dissipated. The golden-armored man frowned, then sneered, pretending to be mystical. Does touching this demon drum really allow you to strike it 15 times? If that were true, then the servants who clean it daily could strike it more than 100 times. Ridiculous. This thought was not only his. Even the demon commanders on the north and south stands slightly furrowed their brows. What is this kid doing? Marshal Shen asked, clearly puzzled. Can this cultivator communicate with the demon drum? One of the demon commanders chuckled lightly. No, he's comprehending it. When I struck the demon drum back then, I also felt the aura it contained. Everyone, have you forgotten? The only female among the demon commanders, Marshal Yu, spoke softly. As soon as these words fell, the faces of the demon commanders turned serious. The civil officials and nobles on the elevated stands could no longer remain quiet. They began whispering among themselves. Among the demon generals, Mo Fei's eyes gleamed with an unusual light. He stared at Wang Lin and whispered, You also sense that aura. At the moment Wang Lin closed his eyes, the unyielding aura became clearer. This aura gathered within his body, and Wang Lin's essence spirit slowly merged into it, becoming one with the demon drum. The resistance to the drum's sound cannot be fought. Instead, one must merge with it. If you understand this resistance, the power of the reverberation will not harm you. In fact, it can even help cleanse your marrow. Wang Lin opened his eyes, and his gaze was clear. He raised his right hand and gently lowered it. Boom! The 10th drumbeat echoed across the vast plaza. Wang Lin's body immediately felt an unimaginable impact coming from the drum. In that instant, Wang Lin decisively withdrew the seal of life, allowing the impact to surge directly into his body. The impact rampaged through his body. Black sweat began to seep from every pore, and as the black impurities left his body, a refreshing sensation, like that experienced during the foundation establishment stage, surged through Wang Lin's entire being. However, this feeling did not last long. The energy that had entered his body immediately turned violent and uncontrollable. As it roamed, Wang Lin's face turned pale. Marrow cleansing. This kid is actually using the drumbeats to cleanse his marrow. The demon commanders were immediately shocked. Not only them, but even among the demon generals, exclamations of surprise could be heard. Shi Xiao looked at Wang Lin with a more intense killing intent. He repeatedly raised his arm, hesitated for a long time, and then lowered it again. The golden-armored man's eyes flashed with a cold glint, and he sneered inwardly, thinking, marrow cleansing. I've been with the demon emperor for years, and he once told me that the drumbeats could cleanse the marrow, but if your cultivation is insufficient, forcing it will only lead to serious injury. The heavenly marshal among the demon commanders, whose eyes were half open, revealed a hint of disappointment before closing them again. This kid. No need to watch anymore. The heavenly marshal sighed inwardly as he closed his eyes. Wang Lin's face was pale, but his eyes were bright. This demon drum's reverse force contains some kind of consciousness. If I fully merge with it, although it fits the meaning of resistance, this resistance is not the way of Wang Lin, but the way of the demon drum. My marrow-cleansing injury is not due to insufficient cultivation, but because the path is different. In this world, cultivators and living beings, as long as they follow the path of defying heaven, have their own form of resistance. This resistance, though one word, manifests in countless great ways depending on personal comprehension. I, Wang Lin, have cultivated for 700 years, and I have my own path. Wang Lin's eyes exploded with a brilliant gleam. Though his face was pale, at this moment, he exuded a sense of conceptual realm. Gradually, the gleam in his eyes faded, replaced by a trace of melancholy and solitude. He raised his right hand and gently placed it on the demon drum. Boom! The 11th drumbeat sounded. At that instant, a wave of sorrowful thoughts, carried by the drumbeats, echoed throughout the plaza, spreading far and wide, reaching celestial Demon City. The sorrow within the drumbeats was like the zither melody from the painted boat, deeply moving. Through sorrow, one enters the spirit. Through the spirit, one enters the thought. Through thought, one strikes the drum. Through the drum, one transmits the Tao. The drum carried intent. Impossible. This is impossible. How could he do this? There's no way. For the first time, the expression on the golden armored man's face changed drastically. He instinctively stepped back several paces, staring blankly at Wang Lin. For the first time, the heaven marshal fully opened his eyes. For the first time, he stood up and looked at Wang Lin. In the entire myriad Zhang Plaza, only Wang Lin could stir his emotions. Even the demon generals remained silent. A sense of conceptual realm elevation flowed gently like a stream through the ears, seeping into hearts and touching the depths of the soul. Wang Lin's hand remained on the demon drum. This single beat conveyed his Tao to the heavens and earth. Moments of meeting Li Muan. 7 centuries of solitude and cultivation. That century of shared life within the illusion of Tianyun sect. The desolation of walking alone in the streets of the land of demonic spirits. All of it came to a halt the moment he heard the zither melody drifting from the river pavilion. That melody lingered in his heart for months. It cleansed his soul and elevated his Tao heart. Now, the zither's tune and the drum's resonance merged in this instant. Through the bridge of Wang Lin's heart, a deep resonance was born. With his hand striking the drum, the sorrow buried deep inside him since Li Muan's departure was finally released. The drumbeat echoed through the plaza. In the silence, many began to weep. Drawn in by the sound, they sank into their inner worlds, where old memories surfaced. Everyone has a story, buried in the heart, hidden deep. But there exists a force that can draw those stories forth. That force is resonance. At this moment, with one drumbeat, Wang Lin released everything he had comprehended when he heard that zither melody. Among the demon generals, Mo Lihai's eyes revealed memories. Even Shi Zhao's gaze held a hint of sorrow. Only one remained unmoved, Mo Fei. His expression was calm, even cold. The sorrow within the drumbeat seemed to have no impact on him whatsoever. No one knew when the drumming stopped. It continued for a long time before people gradually returned to awareness. And in that moment of clarity, aside from the demon commanders and a few rare individuals, most wore looks of shock, discovering that their faces were soaked in tears. Deputy General Xian gazed silently at Wang Lin standing by the demon drum. He let out a soft sigh. The complexity in his eyes faded, replaced by admiration. Drumbeat conveys thoughts. Perhaps he is the one His Majesty the Demon Emperor has awaited for countless years. In that drumbeat, the cultivation I had long been stuck at has loosened. Among the demon commanders, aside from the Heaven Marshal, each looked at Wang Lin differently, but all shared one thing: astonishment. No one present understood the meaning behind the drum's message more than they did. It was a realm. The Heaven Marshal's gaze, sharp as lightning, locked onto Wang Lin in the distance. The haze in his eyes had long since vanished. So his name is Wang Lin. Wang Lin slowly raised his right hand. He turned and looked around. In this moment, he was the center of all attention. His gaze fell upon the golden, armored man. That man's face was no longer gloomy but pale. He stared at Wang Lin in a daze, unable to speak. This cultivator had stunned him too many times today. From striking the drum 5 times with no change in expression, his body unmoving like a towering mountain, to the next 3 beats chasing after Mo-Fei. Then the 9th and 10th beats, with the 10th forcing Wang Lin to stumble back. He thought that was the end, but now he realized it had only just begun. The 11th beat sounded amidst his shock. If it had been like the previous 10, it wouldn't have unsettled him. But this one conveyed thought. That realm, the golden armored man knew he could never achieve it. It wasn't about cultivation. It was about realm, conceptual realm, and the elevation of the soul. Everything that had happened today would remain unforgettable for the golden armored man. Now, as Wang Lin looked at him, he felt a powerful urge to avoid that gaze. 15 strikes. You lose an arm, yes? Wang Lin said softly. His voice was not loud, yet at that moment, everyone heard it clearly. The golden armored man's scalp tingled. He would have rather fought Wang Lin directly, even without using his most powerful divine arts, than face this question, still ringing with the lingering might of that drumbeat. Wang Lin did not give the armored man time to respond. He withdrew his gaze and, for the first time, swept his eyes across the surroundings of the spectator stands. In his eyes, the faces of the onlookers appeared one by one. Each person, upon meeting his gaze, chose to avoid it. Among the deputy commanders, the 6 individuals, Tian, Xian, Huang, Yu, Zhou, and Huang, avoided Wang Lin's gaze as it passed over them. Only one person met his eyes with clarity. That person was Vice Marshal Xian. His eyes were clear as he looked at Wang Lin, and he showed a hint of emotion. He raised his hands and cupped them in a salute to Wang Lin. Wang Lin nodded slightly, and his gaze shifted. This time, he turned toward the 8 demon commanders, scanning each one. All the demon commanders met his gaze, and between them, it seemed their eyes conveyed many different meanings. As Wang Lin's gaze landed on the Heavenly Marshal, the Heavenly Marshal spoke for the first time. Wang Lin, I've remembered your name. Among the demon generals, everyone avoided Wang Lin's gaze, except for Shi Xiao, who growled lowly and forced himself not to look away, locking eyes with Wang Lin. In his eyes, a hint of battle intent appeared. However, this battle intent was completely disregarded as Wang Lin's gaze shifted away. Finally, Wang Lin's eyes stopped on Mo-Fei. Mo-Fei remained cold and indifferent, staring at Wang Lin with a frosty gaze. Wang Lin closed his eyes, retracting his gaze. His right hand gently pressed against the demon drum, striking it not for the sake of sound, but for a deeper purpose. At the moment the drumbeat echoed, for the first time, Wang Lin felt a call to greatness. He touched the edge of it. I want to reach the pinnacle. Wang Lin's eyes remained shut, but in that instant, an overwhelming confidence erupted from him. His right hand remained on the demon drum. Boom, boom. His right hand did not move, but the drumbeats suddenly reverberated. They transformed into thunder, crashing down upon the earth. Each successive drumbeat carried a sorrow greater than the last. 2 more beats followed, and the thunder itself seemed filled with sadness. Just a little more, Wang Lin murmured. The moment his voice faded, another resounding boom echoed from the demon drum. 3 drumbeats. The 12th, 13th, and 14th drumbeats shook the heavens and earth. These beats merged into a powerful impact, surging through the demon drum, into Wang Lin's right hand, and straight into his body. At that moment, nearly everyone heard a series of bangs from within Wang Lin. The sound was crisp and sharp, not quite like the music of the heavens, but it resonated deeply, sending a soothing sensation to everyone around him as though it came from their very bones. Drops of black liquid began seeping from every pore on Wang Lin's body. Marrow cleansing. The Heavenly Marshal's eyes blazed with admiration. This is true marrow cleansing. The previous time was just a superficial cleansing. The other demon commanders looked at Wang Lin with a tinge of jealousy. No one understood more than them why the demon drum was second only to the dragon pool in the heavenly demon province. Within the dragon pool lay the spirits of ancient demons, carrying the teachings that revered the heavens and earth. The demon drum, however, was made from the skin of ancient demons, imbued with their power. It was said that throughout the generations, demon emperors had used this drum to extract the ancient demon power, preserving the glory of the heavenly demon province for eons. To cleanse the marrow with the ancient demon's power was a privilege reserved for the imperial family of the heavenly demon province. Outsiders could only be granted this privilege if they achieved great merit. Before each demon commander took office, they were granted one opportunity to strike the demon drum. The true reward hidden within was marrow cleansing. But whether they could accomplish it depended on their cultivation. The 3 drum beats transformed into a mighty shockwave that wildly surged through Wang Lin's body, washing him clean again, even though his body already had little impurity. 14 strikes. The golden-armored man's face grew increasingly pale. The people surrounding the plaza, except for the golden-armored man, seemed to have forgotten the matter at hand. They were immersed in the reverberating sound of the drum and the residual waves shaking within them. This was the sound of marrow cleansing. When one undergoes marrow cleansing, the sound that emerges from within can cause those who hear it to feel a resonating shockwave, almost like a secondary cleansing effect. Wang Lin opened his eyes. All impurities were washed away from his body. At that moment, he had a strange feeling as if his body were being drawn up into the sky. His gaze fixed on the demon drum, and his eyes were clear. I, Wang Lin, have cultivated for 700 years. My conceptual realm is perfected, but I have not yet reached the pinnacle. Now I understand. The reason I have not reached it is because my Tao heart was not complete. In my heart, there has always been a trace of sorrow, a trace of pain, a mark of a seal. When Li Muin passed away, my conceptual realm was elevated, but Muin became my obsession. That's why when I hear the zither melody of that woman, I feel sorrow, I feel resonance. If I were to hear her music for 100 years, when she grows old and dies, that would be the moment when my understanding reaches completion. My inner sorrow will vanish with the final sound of her zither, leaving behind only a brand that melds with my soul. But today, with the demon drum, I seem to have experienced a century of passing in a brief moment. I've channeled all my sorrow into the drum's beats. When there is no more sorrow in my heart, my Tao heart will be complete, and I will reach the pinnacle. Wang Lin raised his right hand, then gently lowered it. In the brief moment of its descent, all the longing and sorrow he felt for Li Muin surged up from the depths of his heart. As he brought his palm down, he pressed it onto the demon drum. But, by doing this, it's as if I've chosen to forget. Do I really want to forget? Wang Lin's hand trembled. Let everything return to dust, let it return to earth. At that moment, a gentle breeze blew, lifting Wang Lin's hair and causing it to flutter. The heavenly marshal's eyes gleamed with sharp intent. He stepped forward a few paces and stood at the edge of the spectator stands, gazing at Wang Lin. At this moment, it seemed as though he could see through Wang Lin's hesitation. He muttered to himself, "Can he press it down?" As for me, back then, I chose to press it down. What will he choose? To reach the pinnacle. Reaching the pinnacle, those who haven't achieved it can never understand what it truly represents. Reaching the pinnacle is a lonely path. For those whose hearts are not bound by attachments or longing, breaking through the conceptual realm is easy, except for the trial of the primordial spirit. Because it's easy, their cultivation in this life won't make much progress. Their hearts haven't experienced such inner struggles. But some people have emotions, they have attachments. For these individuals, breaking through the conceptual realm is both a test and a torment. Among the demon generals, the only woman, Xielian, looked on with a trace of mockery in her eyes. She had long since recovered from the sorrow. As she gazed at Wang Lin's back, the mocking expression in her eyes deepened. When it came to the trial of the conceptual realm during the ascension of cultivators, she understood more than many from the demon spirit land, because her own master had once been a cultivator. Can you truly cast aside all your feelings and attachments? Shi Xiao frowned, watching Wang Lin. He snorted lightly and said, "Pretentious." Standing beside him, Chun Tao furrowed his brows. For the first time, he found the demon general he had chosen to support somewhat distasteful. He remained silent for a moment before speaking plainly. You won't understand his struggle, just as humans can't comprehend the heart of immortals. Shi Xiao turned and glanced at Chun Tao, then fell silent. Mo Fei's eyes grew colder as he looked at Wang Lin and softly said, "You, like him from back then, are enviable. Interesting." The only person to hear these words was the disciple from the great Luo sword sect, standing behind him. He trembled internally, lowered his head, and said nothing. Vice Marshal Xian, seated in the stands, sighed softly. Though he was not a cultivator, his position gave him some understanding of what reaching the pinnacle meant for cultivators. While his knowledge was limited, seeing Wang Lin's hand hesitate at this moment gave him a fleeting moment of clarity. At this moment, far beyond the imperial capital, a painted boat drifted across the river. The young man who had spent the night drinking with Wang Lin sat at the bow, holding a wine cup, draining it in one gulp. He softly spoke, "Little guy, what will you choose?" The woman playing the zither on the boat remained, though she was no longer playing. Instead, she sat quietly. Wang Lin's hand hovered just above the drumhead. He stared at the demon drum in a daze. To achieve a perfect Tao heart, one must sweep away all the sorrow in one's heart. But is it really worth it? Li Muan's figure appeared before him, her image flowing like water, gently drifting by. If this is the price, if sweeping away my sorrow and erasing Muan's image is the way to reach the pinnacle, then am I truly following the Tao? Is this truly my Tao? From life to death, until she sleeps forever, if I press this down, she will unknowingly become my furnace. As a man, I, Wang Lin, may not stand tall as a mountain, but I must act with a clear conscience. The heavens are merciless, but if I become heartless, it would not be defying the heavens, it would be following them. Casting away my emotions is no different from the cultivators who left during the demon general wars. This is not the Tao of Wang Lin. My Tao is to go against the heavens. This is my path. Ancient cultivators, deceiving the heavens. Now I understand the meaning of those words. It is not deceiving the heavens. It is clearly escaping. While it may not truly go with the heavens, the final path still leads to the same end. Wang Lin's eyes cleared. I can sweep away my sorrow, but the attachments in my heart, these the heavens cannot take. In that moment, Wang Lin suddenly raised his head, gazing into the heavens. A shocking aura erupted from him. To many, it may not seem strong, but it caused everyone around him, even the heavenly marshal, to shudder. This aura, like a sharp sword, burst from Wang Lin's body, piercing the sky. In that instant, the clouds above retreated, and the clear skies spread before all. This is, even with the heavenly marshal's composure, his face changed as he looked at Wang Lin, his eyes filled with surprise. How could his choice be so similar to that of the demon emperor from years ago? The heaven marshal cast a deep glance at Wang Lin. The golden-armored man's face grew even paler. When Wang Lin's right hand stopped, he still harbored a slight hope, but at this moment, the momentum emanating from Wang Lin made him feel as though disaster was imminent. He stared at Wang Lin's retreating figure, the killing intent in his eyes growing more intense. If I kill him before he strikes the 15th blow, even if the demon emperor blames me later, I'm certain he won't punish me too harshly. After all, this person is just a cultivator, whereas I am not only from the demon land, but also someone who has made contributions to the heavenly demon province. The moment Wang Lin's aura exploded, it vanished instantly. True cultivation is about defying heaven itself. I don't believe that by keeping my heart resolute and removing my sorrowful thoughts, I won't be able to reach the peak. This peak is not determined by fate, but by the cultivator themselves. Heaven cannot interfere with me. What truly interferes is the cultivator's heart. If the heart compromises, losing its defiance, it is deceived by the heavens. But if the heart remains firm, I want to see how heaven can stop me from reaching the peak and how it can prevent me from defying the heavens. Wang Lin's eyes glinted sharply. He took a deep breath, without hesitation, channeling all the sorrow he had due to Li Muan into his right hand. At this moment, the world seemed to change color as countless bolts of lightning, like silver serpents, surged through the sky. The strange phenomena above the imperial capital immediately alerted everyone in Celestial Demon City. At that instant, every person looked up, their gaze fixed on the imperial capital. In the myriad Zhang Plaza, the crowd's gaze converged on Wang Lin's figure, which, despite not being tall, was the center of attention. Even the young man in the river pavilion, holding a wine cup, set it down and stood up, gazing toward the imperial capital with anticipation in his eyes. At that very moment, far away in the ancient battleground, countless miles from Celestial Demon City, atop the pitch-black high tower, at the very top, the black armor gleamed suddenly, and in that instant, eerie light flared from the helmet. As the eerie light blinked, terrifying waves began to ripple across the sky above the tower. The eerie light flashed, and a divine thought echoed within the tower. Defying Cultivator. Good. In the Imperial Capital's plaza, all of Wang Lin's sorrow concentrated into his right hand. At that moment, his right hand held infinite sorrow. Without hesitation, he slammed it onto the demon drum. In that instant, the golden-armored man's eyes exploded with intense, killing intent. His body suddenly moved. All his cultivation condensed into his legs. His figure was like lightning, charging toward Wang Lin. "Die!" The golden-armored man shouted as he appeared behind Wang Lin, his right hand flaring with light like the sun, as if he were holding the very sun in his hand. "I will not let him strike the 15th blow. Kill him, and I refuse to believe the demon sovereign will punish me." The killing intent in the golden-armored man's eyes seemed almost tangible. As his right hand's light neared, the earth around him instantly erupted into flames, turning the area within 100 paces into a hell of blazing fire. On the plaza, the Heaven Marshal's eyes flashed coldly, and his body shot forward, bursting from the high tower. He shouted, "Jin Wuxiu, what are you doing?" At this moment, Wang Lin turned around to face the golden-armored man. His sudden appearance did not surprise Wang Lin. He had already anticipated that this man would never willingly concede. The 3,000 marks of the Seal of Life were already fully repaired on his body, and with the power of the 15th drumbeat, Wang Lin was confident he could withstand this attack. A cold smile appeared at the corner of the golden-armored man's mouth. His right hand, as if grabbing the sun, pressed toward Wang Lin without hesitation. His timing was impeccable. If Wang Lin dodged, he would certainly not strike the 15th blow, and if Wang Lin retreated, he would immediately chase. But if Wang Lin did not dodge, the golden-armored man was confident he could strike him down in that instant. The golden-armored man completely ignored the Heaven Marshal's words, his eyes revealing a cruel killing intent. The Heaven Marshal arrived instantly, and the golden-armored man slapped his left hand behind him, signaling that no one could stop him from killing Wang Lin. The Heaven Marshal's right hand formed a seal, turning into a beam of dark light. It collided with the golden-armored man's left hand. At this moment, the young man in the river pavilion, far away in Celestial Demon City, had his face darken. He revealed a look of anger, muttering, "How dare you? Jin Wuxiu, you are dead." Just then, the golden-armored man on the plaza suddenly shuddered. The killing intent in his eyes seemed to be extinguished by cold water. The flames within 100 paces dimmed, and the sound of thunder rumbled in his ears. His face turned pale, and he gasped, "That sound." At the same time, in the ancient battleground, countless miles away from Celestial Demon City, within the high tower, the eerie light in the armor's eyes flashed once more. A cold snort filled with divine thought echoed, resonating loudly. The golden-armored man muttered, "That sound." And in that instant, a chilling coldness enveloped his body. The hellish flames surrounding him, which had been raging just moments ago, were suddenly extinguished in the blink of an eye. A cold snort echoed out of the void, reaching only the ears of the golden-armored man. His body shuddered violently. The golden armor covering him instantly shattered into fragments. Blood spurted from his mouth in a torrent, and the blazing sun on his right hand, extinguished. Had that divine power struck its mark, the target would have died beyond a doubt. But the Heaven Marshal had acted not to kill, only to stop the strike. Without hesitation, he immediately withdrew his power. To onlookers, however, it seemed as though the golden-armored man had been gravely wounded by the Heaven Marshal's blow. The Heaven Marshal's eyes narrowed in surprise. He retracted his divine power and stepped back, gazing at the golden-armored man. The golden-armored man staggered, vomiting blood again. All the demon power in his body dissipated, and even his meridians cracked. In that moment, he went from being a mighty dragon to a mere reptile. What? Who let out that snort? It's terrifying, far stronger than even the demon sovereign. No, it's not just many times stronger, It's on a completely different level. He didn't mean to kill me. If he had, I'd already be dead. Wounded twice in succession, his demon power shattered. The golden armored man turned deathly pale, drenched in cold sweat pouring like rain. Though it seemed the heaven marshal had dealt the blow, Wang Lin, standing close, saw clearly that the divine power had never touched the golden armored man. Wang Lin's eyes flickered. He buried the doubt in his heart. Now was the perfect time to kill this man. Regardless of how he had been wounded so mysteriously, if Wang Lin didn't strike now, he wouldn't be Wang Lin. Without hesitation, Wang Lin lifted his hand from the drum and seized the frail golden armored man. A flash of killing intent crossed his eyes as he slammed the man directly into the demon drum. Boom! The golden armored man's body slammed fiercely against the drum. Already feeble, he sprayed a cloud of blood mist on impact. A mouthful of blood splashed onto the drum's surface. In Wang Lin's right hand surged all the sorrow buried deep in his heart. This was his final strike of the infant metamorphosis stage. With it, he poured out every lingering thought, every shard of sadness he had ever carried. The moment the golden armored man's body struck the demon drum, the sorrow within Wang Lin erupted madly, flooding into the man's body like a tide. It tore through him, unimpeded, and surged into the drum. Dong! The drum's echo resounded. A violent rebound exploded forth, mercilessly crashing back into the broken shell of the golden armored man. In that instant, at the very moment the drum rang out, his body, his identity as Chief Steward Jin, as Jin Wushu, crumbled. Blood mist burst from him, scattered by the reverberating sound, dissolving into the sky. His body disintegrated, dying a wretched death. Even his soul shattered in the echoing drumbeat. Every trace of his existence, utterly erased from the world. 5 strikes of the drum break an arm. 10 strikes, both arms. 15 strikes, take your life. The one who killed him wasn't Wang Lin, but the one who had left him in such a critical state. Had that mysterious force been a single blow, even severely wounded, he wouldn't have become so powerless. He wouldn't have been reduced to a mortal. But 2 forces struck at once, one from the void and one from Wang Lin. Together, they crushed a once-renowned powerhouse of the heavenly demon province into ruin. And Wang Lin, with his ruthless nature and fierce resolve, finished what had been started. On the painted boat, the young man stiffened, murmuring, "Dead? How could this be?" A chill suddenly flickered through his eyes. He turned sharply to gaze into the distance, his stare piercing through the celestial demon city, through the void itself. But in the next moment, he lowered his head, as though nothing had happened. On the plaza, the heaven marshal stood closest to Wang Lin. He stared at him, stunned, feeling the force of Wang Lin's defiance. In his gaze appeared the admiration of an elder for a worthy successor. For an instant, he saw a reflection of his younger self, of a life he might have lived had he not given it up. Among the demon commanders, aside from the heaven marshal, the other 7 wore deeply conflicted expressions. What they saw in Wang Lin wasn't merely his cultivation level, but the fact that he had struck the drum 15 times. 15 times. More than anyone else, making him, in name and fact, the first in all of Heavenly Demon Province to strike the demon drum to that count. Among the deputy commanders, a stunned silence reigned. Deputy General Xian took a deep breath. His long-stagnant cultivation was now on the verge of a breakthrough. Thanks to the marrow-cleansing sound of Wang Lin's strikes, and the profound shift he had felt within himself. In the surrounding spectator stands, all those still conscious looked at Wang Lin with a gaze that no longer held mere awe, but deep respect. In the land of demonic spirits, strength commands respect. Among the demon generals, there was silence. Demon General Mo Lehigh stared at Wang Lin's back. He understood, there was no longer any doubt. Wang Lin would become a demon commander. The 15th drumbeat echoed through heaven and earth. This sound seemed to carry a bloody scent, but within it was an unimaginable sorrow. This sorrow blended with the beat of the drum, expanding with each reverberation of the sound. In the sky above, silver serpents danced, and thunder roared. However, in this 15th drumbeat, it felt as if they merged with each other. The thunder seemed to absorb the sorrow within the drumbeat. At this moment, an unimaginable sadness descended from the sky, carried by the thunder, carried by the drumbeat, and spread wildly, engulfing the entire celestial demon city. The force of this 15th drumbeat was more intense than the previous 14 combined. It struck the path of Wang Lin, it struck his sorrow, it struck a perfect Tao heart, and it struck a true path of defying heaven in cultivation. This sorrow, under the guidance of the thunder, was no longer a human sorrow. It was a sorrow of the heavens, a sorrow of the earth. Everyone in the entire celestial demon city felt this sorrow, and tears unknowingly began to fall. On the painted boat, at the bow, the woman playing the zither felt the sorrow, gently plucking the strings and letting the mournful melody rise. Wang Lin raised his head, gazing at the sky, and softly muttered, "I have preserved my persistence. The way of heaven, it is the way of the heavens." Even the royal families of the mortal realm once said, "Under heaven, all lands are royal lands." And the way of heaven is the vastness of the universe, the wilderness of time, every blade of grass, every tree, is the way of heaven, present everywhere. This small land of demonic spirits, even if it were truly the immortal emperor's cave, could never prevent the arrival of the way of heaven. Because everything in this world is the way of heaven, and as long as it exists, it is permitted by the way of heaven. The way of heaven descends. The way of heaven has no form. When it descends, it takes shape and can only be named one thing, and that is the heavenly tribulation. With the shattering of the immortal realm, the heavenly tribulation had disappeared. However, what disappeared was not the true heavenly tribulation, but rather the one triggered by immortals. It was the immortal tribulation. The true heavenly tribulation is the punishment of the way of heaven and will not disappear with the destruction of any realm. It will only appear when the time is right. The arrival of the true defying cultivator is the condition for its descent.